What's up, y'all? This your girl Jay Rene with Prison Riot Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This afternoon, we have a brother by the name of Ricardo Ferrell on the line. We're going to talk to him about his writing, his time while incarcerating, and some of the things that motivate him. Hey, bro, how are you?
I'm all right. Yourself, Jay Rene?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain. I appreciate you for taking this time to interview with us. And I'm definitely ready to start. We're going to jump right in it. You ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, so give the people, a brief summary of who you are and where you from.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Ricardo Ferrell. I was born and raised in Black Bottom. That's an area in Detroit that a lot of people from the South migrated to like 100 years ago, like the early 1900s. That's where my family came from, Macon, but they ended up landing in Black Bottom. They came from Macon, Atlanta, and Jackson, Georgia. All my great grandparents and my grandparents. So I came up on Detroit's east side, which of course, like they always say, is like one of the most violent areas in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come up around a bunch of violence, seeing all types of things, So early on in the 60s, I came up myself, born in the 50s, came up in the 60s and the 70s, seen a bunch of stuff around me, and that kind of like dictated the way I went my path. It wasn't my environment. Sometimes you say you're a product of your environment, but I think I was a product of my expectations. And what I mean by that is, so often I've seen others who I wanted to emulate, like the big drug dealers, the pimps, all the hustles and all that from off Hastings Street, like one of the original streets in Detroit. And so that's why I became like a product of my expectations. So if I would have expected something more than to get off into a life of crime, then I probably would have went down the other road. But so early on, I started, hitting licks, which you already know that means like, committing crimes. And it kind of like led from one thing to another, from juvenile stints to prison. And unfortunately, like in 1981, that was the last time I was on the street. I was convicted for second-degree murder. So early on, like in my incarceration on this sentence right here, it's not my first sentence, like my second sentence. First came when I was 17 back in 1975. So early on this sentence right here, I came right in. I just dived right into the prison life, which meant hustling, doing everything that you don't supposed to be doing, which, brought on more problems as I went on. I only did have a problem like having this life sentence on my head. I kind of like created a bunch of other stuff, that came along with doing this sentence that I shouldn't have been doing. So that led me down a real dark path, like assaults, like I said, selling drugs, doing all types of stuff. And so maybe 20 years ago, 15 or 20 years ago, I kind of like woke up and said, man, damn, you gonna ever give yourself a chance to get up out of here? Right. And that's why I started making my transformation, like maybe 15 years ago when I was in the Supermax. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was really deep. And you said a mouthful there, you know what I mean? You have been behind the G-Wall for quite some time. I wanted to ask you, how have you stayed motivated day to day, as this goes along?
Hey, it's funny you say that because I'm looking at my tablet right now, and I'm bringing up my photo gallery. And the first picture you will see is the late Ayanna Stanley Jones. She was murdered in a police raid about 9 years ago. The police went to raid her house looking for her uncle, and SWAT shot through the window and hit her with an AK in her neck and killed her. So that's my motivation. Every time I look at her, she didn't have a chance to live. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at like a picture from her funeral where it got the casket right there, white casket with the flowers with her name within the flowers, Ayanna with Reverend L. Sharpton doing the eulogy. So that becomes like my motivation every time I look at that. So I say, hey, I'm 64 years old, kind of like threw my life away, but I want to make something better of my life. That's when I started really like going real hard with my writing, because I've been writing now for like 15 years. But I really want to do it big. So that's why, like I said, I'm a field editor for Voice Detroit, was an online magazine, correspondent for the Games Report magazine. Not being published, like I said, in like numerous publications. But just like right now, I'm working on a project with the Marshall Project. And this will be like my second project with them. I had always longed to do something with them, with aspirations of finally getting something like I write about, published in either the New York Times or the Washington Post, and possibly become a contributing writer for News Inside, which is their magazine, the Marshall Report, that is. And I'm also working on some other projects. So, and then like I said, seeing so many of my friends and associates and stuff like that fall by the wayside, get heavy in the game, make it real big. But what it says, what's it, the profit man should gain the whole entire world, but yet lose his soul at the end. So if you got guys that was getting like hundreds of thousands, playing with the meal tickets and all that, but they threw all that away, you know what I mean, because they lost their life in the end. So, made it to be, 20-something, some of them in their teens, some in their 20s, and they threw their lives away. So that's like my motivation. I'm like, look, damn, man, look at all my friends, relatives and all that that been murdered. My mother was murdered stuff like 25 years ago, and it really just like knocked me down for a minute. But all that's been like my motivation. I said, I really want to do something worthwhile and make a real difference. And that's why I was involved in some of the programs I was involved in here to help the youth out in the society and all that. We had like a nice program called the Youth Deterrent Program when they brought in at-risk youth where we can breathe on them, try to get them go down a different path than what we chose. Right. Some group of lifers and stuff that ran that program.
Yeah, that's, thank you for, definitely your contributions. Our youth is definitely worth investing in, and they're going to set the tone of the world. Our youth always do that, So I appreciate your efforts with that. I heard you say that you've been writing for like the last 15 years. So what got you into writing? Is it, your same motivations, or is it a little bit more?
Well, like I said, when I was like locked down and stuff, right, I had a bunch of time to like do some self-reflection. So I always kind of wrote. I kind of like really took it serious like maybe 15 years ago. But been writing really like off and on for like 30 years. But and what really kind of like inspired me to really start doing it. Like I said, I just wanted to make a change. Like I'm saying, writing became like a therapy for me. You know what I mean? So all the untreated trauma that I hadn't really got an opportunity to deal with because they don't really afford you those type of programs where you can deal with your trauma. Those past traumas. I found that writing was like really helpful. It became like a therapeutic value. Every time I put something on paper. But and like I said, now we got these tablets, it's like little hookups, but and I'm always on it, like every morning I'm on it, all during the day. I keep like in my pocket all the time. And so I even go to sleep writing something down. So that's become like, that was pretty much what really inspired me to really start taking, like I said, my writing serious. Like I wanted to really do something to make a change, to really change everything about me, like whole entirely reinvent myself. Like I said, to be something worthwhile when I step up out here, which I hope will be within the next year or so.
Okay, well that's what's up, bro. I want to talk to you more about your writing. You've written for a lot of different platforms. Can you name some of them for us?
Oh, yes. Like I said, I'm a field editor for Voice Detroit, which is an online newspaper. It really kind of like covers a bunch of like wrongful convictions, police brutality, the broken criminal justice system. So, I wrote maybe 50 articles for that particular publication. And it's been like a variety of topics that I've covered. I wrote a story about two women, Kia Faison and Erica Lynn Gillis. They both were domestic violence survivors who went on to do some amazing stuff. They didn't let that keep them down. They got them knocked down for a minute, but they went on to do some really great things, writing books. Erica Lynn, she got like a podcast.
You have 1 minute remaining.
She's a transformational coach and all that. So, and then the Gaines Report magazine, it pretty much write about mob stuff and all that, and a bunch of organized crime type cases and true crime stories. So, and like I said, even walkingthoseshoes.com, it's kind of like, it's like a freestyle. I've sent a bunch of articles into there to have possibly get published too. So it'd be like little personal stories and also covering a bunch of stuff like mental illness and all that.
All right, y'all. This is Jay Rene, Back at y'all. We got Ricardo Ferrell back on the line. Hey, bro, welcome back.
Oh, yeah, glad to be back. Very good today.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you were talking about the different platforms that you have written for. The last one you talked about, it dealt with, mental health and stuff like that.
Oh, yes. Like I said, I've been writing for Voice of Detroit, which is an online newspaper, for maybe 4 years now. And I've read a bunch of their stuff. So when I first connected with them, some of the first stuff I wrote about was some of my experiences in here with the classes and stuff. But a particular program that I took training for is what they call Prisoner Observation Aid, which is another way of saying suicide watch, where we are tasked with watching guys that's going through mental breakdowns, harming themselves. So I've been involved with that program for like 9 years. So I started writing about it. My experiences were like going to like watch guys and talking them down for hurting themselves and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we talking maybe in the 9 years that I've been doing this, maybe 20 or 25 guys have successfully committed suicide. And that's really sad. So I kind of started writing about some of that stuff. And one guy in particular that kind of caught my attention, he had like maybe 10 or 11 months to go. So I was wondering why did he cut himself the way he cut himself. He had like some of his main arteries and almost bled out. Come to find out, his wife and his daughter had been diagnosed with brain cancer. So he just couldn't take it, not being able to be there for them and all that. So he just went on to try to end his own life. So like I said, I've been like writing about mental health issues and stuff like that for like maybe the last 4 years in a row. So so the mental health thing here in Michigan is like a big thing. You got maybe 10,000 people up to 32,000 that's been diagnosed with serious mental illness. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of like covered that topic right there.
Mm-hmm. Mental illness is definitely a big thing, and I think in the Black and Brown communities, it was almost taboo to address it in a professional sense. I know that is changing now, and I'm really happy about that because these things are out there for us to assist us with our mental health and stuff like that. So I appreciate your efforts towards that. So what other platforms that you wrote for? I know you said something about State versus Us and the Bayview as well.
Oh yeah, State versus Us. I think it may be a piece or two in there when I was like writing about the COVID crisis here in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Okay.
So I think they ran that story there. I want to say it was like one of the COVID stories that I did that they done in State versus Us.
Okay.
So like Honeysuckle magazine, there's something there. Sealdor magazine, University of Michigan PCAP News, My Life Matters 2 newsletter. There's various articles in there. Anti-Bullies Crusader newsletter. I'd like to write about kids and stuff like that that's going through bullying. I also wrote a piece not long ago for that newsletter called Bullying Causing Rise in Suicide. And I pretty much talked about junior high and high school students that committed suicide as a result of being bullied at their high school and their junior high school. In the Communicator newsletter, the Michigan Life Report newsletter, Keeping You Posted newsletter, and DreamBigLiveBig.net, which is an online website that talks about at-risk youth. So I've written several stories for there as well. And Walking Those Shoes website, I got a few pieces there. So, yeah.
So you a writer for real, for real. I'm trying to be like you when I grow up.
Oh, wow. Hey, thanks a lot. But like I said, I was talking about Ayana being like kind of like, she's like an inspiration to me. So that's what kind of like keep me motivated. Because like I said, every time I cut my tablet off and go to my gallery, that's who I see. It's like I said, she didn't get a chance to live. So I just want to just do something that really like leave a mark. So my legacy won't just be like, oh man, he was in the game real tough. Yeah, he did his thing.
Right.
I want to be able to do my thing and like help people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like to really make a difference before I leave this earth. So that's why I said, let's writing. I'm talking about I've been going ham with it for like the last 15 years, really serious about it and trying to like really make a difference. And like a lot of the stories I've done on people, like man, you really touched me. And, like a lot of women, like I said, I've been covering women as well. And recently I've been doing like a bunch of writing about wrongful convictions and those that have been incarcerated for like 20, 30, 40 years. So, and then end up getting exonerated. So there's a bunch of stuff you're going to probably be able to see on the website, especially on Voices of Detroit. You'll see a ton of stuff on there. Podcasts, I've been on podcasts. We put a podcast together in September where we brought on 4 recent exonerees, those that had been locked up like 20, 25 years for murders they didn't do. So it's been like a bunch of coverage about that. So I've been writing a whole lot extensively, like I said, about the wrongful convictions and those that are unlawfully in prison.
Okay. We're going to have to definitely make sure we look out for them. So, what I was going to ask you next. So, what's for the future, bro? Like, what are the things that you're trying to, get accomplished and stuff?
Okay, yeah, like right now, I'm going to have somebody to kind of like put the down payment on a paralegal course for myself through Blackstone Institute. I think it's down in Pennsylvania somewhere. So I'm going to do that. It's going to be like a 3-4 month task. And at the same time, continuing doing my writing. And we're putting together another podcast for January 4th and 11th, which just so happened to be what we were talking about a few moments ago. It's going to be mental health awareness and the effects of untreated trauma. And what we're going to do is have like a panel of maybe 7 or 8 people, a former state rep, a girl out of New York, California rather, named Stephanie Shepard. She's going to come in and talk about her untreated trauma while she was incarcerated in the feds. Then we're going to have a couple of the wrongful convicted people and juvenile lifers that have gotten out come on as well. And then a female out of Ypsilanti that runs the American Friends Service Committee, she's going to come on. And we're trying to reach out to a celebrity to be able to come on or either give us like a piece that we can run through the podcast if they can't make it on. So that's what we're looking to do like in the first week in January on the Erica Lynn Speak podcast.
Okay. We're going to have to make sure we're looking out for that too. So we don't have too much time, bro. So I want to ask you, is there any, what advice would you give for someone that's coming into prison that's facing a lot of time?
Okay, what I would tell that individual is, like, soon as you, like, get your bed rolled, and that's, like, one of the first things they give you once you get processed, into the reception guidance center. It may sound kind of lame or whatever, but I would say go in there and sterilize your cell first. Because we've been seeing an uptick in like a bunch of coronavirus cases in the reception and guidance center. That's when people first come in the prison system. So it's been like a bunch of cases coming out of that facility there. So I tell them, go in there and sterilize their cell. You know what I'm saying? Pick up the first thing you do, pick up the rule book. Might sound lame, like I said. And read everything that you do and don't supposed to do. And then immediately jump right off into a class or a trade and try to better yourself. And then know that you got to hit that law library. So say for instance, a person coming in with a life debt, right? Say a 19-year-old just coming in with a life debt. I'll say you got to sign up for that law library. You got to see if there's some errors in your case to try to be able to get back, so you won't sit in this mug and die. Because so many of my comrades and died in here. Matter of fact, I'm just not writing about one of my comrades who did 44 years. It was like 6-7 days before he folks walked up out of here, caught corona and died. Was in here since he was 16 and he died at 60. And I'm talking about a couple of old cats that had like 47, 48 in, was due to get up out of here within a year and died. So I'm saying it's not guaranteed you're going to walk in and walk up out of here. So you got to come in and do what's right. You know what I mean? So for yourself, because it ain't just about you. It's about your siblings you left behind, your family, your kids, and everybody. You know what I mean? So everybody's infected about what you do. So you got to come in and better yourself. That's what I would tell that individual that's coming in from like this on day one. You got to come in like, damn, I got to really like change my thinking, which is going to affect my attitude, which therefore is going to, impact my behavior. So it becomes like the tab, thinking, attitude, behavior. So that's what they got to work on. Got to work on themselves, become a better person for those that's in there for something they did. Like I said, you got a bunch of people that's in here that was wrongly convicted, but crimes they didn't commit. Like I said, it's a bunch of, noise being made about that and people getting up out of here. So that's pretty much what I would tell someone just coming in.
I think that's excellent advice, bro. Thank you for passing that knowledge along. I hope it hits the ears of those that need to hear it. So,
yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, for sure. So how can the people get in contact with you if they want to reach out?
Like I said, out there at that www.jpay.com, and then they have to just pop my number in there. Prison number 140701. Ricardo Ferrell. I don't even know if you need the name. And then they can Google me. You know what I mean? They can go to Voice Detroit. For Voice Detroit, they have my address and all that on there as well. You know what I mean? So so that JPay is kind of the most expedient way to be able to communicate. Right? So that's one of the ways that get in touch with me.
Okay. Well, we definitely appreciate that, bro. I'm gonna make sure that information is up so that they can get in contact with you. Again, I thank you for taking, time out of your day to sit with us and to chat about some things. And I'd love to interview you again because there's definitely much more to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'll look forward to that as well because I had a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to cover. And I know time is of the essence and everything. And I really appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform, and to share, that in which I had to share. I would love to come on again and be able to share more.
Yeah,
so
we got to make sure that we get back.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. We got to make sure we get you back sooner than later because, like you said, I know you got a lot. I want to help you get that out there. So we're going to set that up.
Okay. Bet it up. I really appreciate that.
For sure.
You know what I mean?